Hello and welcome. Today's guest is an impact strategist with an impressive track record of shaping business models across international markets. Having worked in 14 countries across Asia Pacific, he is a serial entrepreneur, keynote speaker, coach, and social business consultant who is on a mission to redefine social entrepreneurship and equalize access to entrepreneurial education, training, resources, and opportunities. Having recently won the Doing Business in Africa Award, he is the co-founder of Coach Africa, an organization that offers high-quality consulting, mentoring, and coaching for organizations, coaches, and entrepreneurs across the African continent. There, he has facilitated access to clean energy for over 170,000 people, provided business training to over 500 entrepreneurs, facilitating the housing for over 160 refugees, and cultivated a successful network of coaches to help African entrepreneurs start and scale their businesses. Welcome, Danny Den Hartog. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Ellie. Super stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now, Danny, you have had an extremely successful corporate career based in Hong Kong, serving all of Asia Pacific. How did you go from that life to living in the Netherlands, founding Coach Africa, and really focusing in on serving Afropreneurs? Take us through that journey, and what was the pivotal moment that led to that transition?
Well, Ellie, as you said, living a life in Hong Kong is not the worst life that you can live, especially not financially, right? But after I was in the job, I was an area sales manager for a major Dutch homeware brand, and I was responsible for the whole Asia Pacific region, traveling half of my time, and everything on paper was quite impressive. And frankly, I was really enjoying my time at that time. Being in your mid-20s and you get sent to Hong Kong and you can travel the whole Asia Pacific region is really not a bad thing to start. However, I was about 5 years in the role, and I was selling premium homewares, and I was walking around in the evening in a poorer district in Manila, and suddenly there was a little child. I think she was about 4 or 5 years old, and she just grabbed my arm when I was walking. And I had seen quite a lot of poverty, obviously, being around quite a bit in Asia at that time. But just thinking back to that single encounter with that girl child, and just seeing that look in her face, and her mother was walking behind her, and they're really just asking for food and these sorts of things. So I just kind of broke down, and something inside of myself said, like, Danny, what are you really doing with your life? Like, what is this everything? Are you giving back anything to the countries that you do business in? And it was a very hard realization. The answer was a plain no. I mean, was doing well financially, but what kind of impact was I really making in people's lives? So what I did is probably one of the worst things I should have done, is I treated the child and a number of her friends for a bucket of fast food, and yeah, I just cried later on, and that was for me. I mean, it took a little bit of time for me to kind of pull the plug and say, I really want to relocate with my wife back to the Netherlands. But I think that was one of the pivotal moments when you have sort of a calling, like, are you made for this, or are you? Is there more in store for you? So that was that led to the decision to move back to the Netherlands, and then another kind of chapter started.
Yes, and so yes, you're Dutch, obviously. Why did you focus your business on Africa, especially having spent so much time in Asia Pacific, and then really having this awakening and this epiphany in the Philippines? How did you get from Asia to Africa? And is there a bigger purpose there?
Yeah, and I think to everybody listening in, tuning in, that is an entrepreneur or is entrepreneurial in nature. I think I'm sure you will recognize that, sometimes when you have done a certain thing, it's kind of tempting to look at something very different. And for me, that has always been in international travel, in connecting with different cultures. So after having been in Asia for about 7 years, and having taken some global positions as a sales director, looking at the Americas, done a bit of business in the Middle East, I was totally unexposed to the African continent. And that to me was just a major attractor. Like, you only hear bad stories, at least in the Netherlands, about Africa, war, poverty, all these kind of things. So in one of my interim positions, I actually had the privilege of traveling to Uganda and seeing the life-changing impact that our work had in terms of helping families to access solar, so their kids could, for the first time, study in the night using just safe and reliable energy. And that visit to Uganda, in this case, it completely shattered the stereotypes that I had of Africa. And I realized that I didn't know anything about the continent. And that visit planted a seed inside of my brain, saying, if I ever start a bigger thing, then it has to be something with Africa. And I didn't have an idea at that time what kind of business that would be or how that would play out. But actually, coming back from a major Tony Robbins event in Florida, and being in a plane on the way back, I was journaling, and kind of an idea came to me, which I expanded, and it became Coach Africa. And it's a very special story, but now Coach Africa is a business that has really a great team on the ground in Africa. It was already a business existing for 16 years in Africa, and we came together under one big brand. And it's just incredible to just increase access to coaching on the continent and do amazing things every day with people on the continent.
That's amazing. So you're really bridging a gap, working to equalize the disparate access to entrepreneurial education and training and mentorship and resources and opportunities. I mean, that is quite an undertaking. So what are some of the challenges that you have faced, and how have you navigated them?
And that's a great question, Ellie. You know what has frustrated me a lot? And if you enroll in entrepreneurial training, like especially if it's around business development, a lot of gurus actually teach you, for example, how to find your right client, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been in one course where people literally said, ignore these and these profiles, for the very reason that these were from Africa. Like, these were Black people, they were from Africa, and they just literally said, don't accept these invitations or don't target these people, because they probably don't have any money to buy your programs. And that is just plain wrong. And I think with our programs, we are actually proving that there's money that, like, people same as us in the US or in the Netherlands, we all want to grow and contribute and develop global businesses, right? So I think one of the main things which motivate me is to just help to shine a different light on what Africa really is about, and not by me talking about that, but by actually enabling others, powerful voices on the continent, to shine their light and to tell their stories, so that we don't get a one-way traffic of just seeing white people, from the developed markets that we are in, but also that we see, different colors and different voices around the world.
Absolutely. So you've really had to overcome the stereotypes and the misconceptions. What other challenges have you faced in terms of bridging the gap to access to these materials and to the programs and opportunities in the global markets?
You see, Ellie, if and that's why I really love your show. You know, it's as an entrepreneur, sometimes we have to be really courageous and we have to push through. And for me, ironically speaking, it was the color of my skin that made me very insecure, and the fact that I'm Dutch, and the voice in my head saying, you know, who are you to develop a business that you know has a positive impact on the continent? Why is that your role, right? And that voice was so persistent that definitely for a full year I just wasn't able to really find my place. I had the position of being a tech guy, just behind the scenes, kind of facilitating things, and that just didn't really fulfill me, because I've always been used to you know, being on the forefront, engaging with people, and I just kind of crafted a role for myself in my own business that I didn't really like.
Oh, wow. So
So
how did you navigate and silence the inner critic? How did you navigate those limiting beliefs and the ego and the fear and the doubt? Take us through that journey over the course of the year that you really didn't step fully into the forefront. What was that journey like? How'd you navigate it?
yeah, one of the things I've done is I've educated myself around topics around like white supremacy or unearned white privilege, right? Because what I've come to understand is that, you know, if we say things like we don't see color, these sorts of statements that we mean generally in a good way, like, you know, we are not racist, we are inclusive, all these kind of things. But actually, through saying these kind of things, we deny a critical part of somebody's identity. And because I didn't know all of these kind of things, I just didn't know how to deal with the overall business. So just by kind of educating myself a bit around what are some of the sensitivities related to my role as a white founder, you know, that kind of made me a bit more certain that and helped me to kind of find my place, right? Because ultimately, I think you know, the traditional model of being an authority, right? Of just that everybody needs to kind of listen to you, and that is not going to change how people view Africa, right? Because that's not my role to talk about. Uh, but so do you get what I mean?
Absolutely. So through educating yourself and becoming aware uh, of the sensitivities of the issues of the varying perspectives, you were really able to feel more confident in your place, in your role, and craft a position for yourself within your own company that aligned with all of that. And if I'm hearing you, that confidence led to courage and bravery and boldness and being willing then to step out of the shadows of the tech side and back out into the leadership role to be able to shine a light and provide a platform for the entrepreneurs that you serve to grow and scale and get to market.
Yeah, and frankly, that's really correct. But maybe when thinking about this right now, maybe even a more important reason was, and this is, I think, a really important point. Like I've wasted so many years, so much time on kind of prototyping, conceptualizing, being in my head, thinking what people would think in terms of launching that business. And when I actually started talking about what I wanted to achieve and what my intentions were, and talking about the bigger picture and the mission, I was just finding that the color of my skin disappeared in that sense, and that I was really, and that is just one of the most heartwarming and touching elements. Like when I was in Uganda just a couple of months ago, I had the privilege of spending overnight at my business partner's residence and with their family, and just the way I was being treated as real family, it just made me just realize again that, like, just if we start doing and we start engaging and we start to just speak from our heart and instead of just from the head, and then things will happen, and you don't have to worry too much around how things will play out. So I think that would be actually the main message of just starting to do, and you'll find your way.
Take the first step, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. Get out of your head and into action, right?
Exactly.
Especially when you're so aligned in your mission and your purpose and your vision. I love that you shared that when you got out of your head and when you really just started sharing the bigger message, the bigger mission, the bigger purpose, that, you know, the fact that you're a white Dutchman became irrelevant. It became brothers on the cause. It became aligned spirits, aligned missions, aligned purposes, aligned values, and people able to then come together to create the change and create the opportunities and really kind of bring your own vision to life. So I think that's incredibly powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, you mentioned Tony Robbins, and I know that you yourself have had quite a few coaches and mentors along your own journey, and that has really helped you to now want to mentor and coach others. What has been some of the best advice that your coaches or mentors have given you?
I think one of the, and here's the, because I will not go into the theory, right? The difference between coaching and mentoring. But I would say one thing, like, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as long as we get the impact in our lives, right? So I have one coach that I've had. He just said one thing to me. He said, "Danny, just shut up and do this."
Yes.
and obviously that's not coaching. I mean, it's more like a mentoring, but we are so, as entrepreneurs, we are just so stubborn, right? And we think like we just want to find our own way, and which is good, but sometimes it's great to just, you know, follow a process and proven track, right? And just give one thing a shot, and just the next shiny object will come by, and then you follow that process and you follow that process and you get this mentor and this coach and everything. And I think that's probably one of my biggest mistakes, is that I've just had too many different people that I've been engaging with. And at one point I was frankly just confused, because just a few people told me different kind of things. And I was like, yeah, well, what do I do? So just simply picking one person that you think, okay, that person is in the space that I want to go into, right? And that person has a proven track record and made results in this space. So let me listen to that person. And that would be my piece of advice that I would give. Just shut up and follow somebody's process. If it's not working, you can always change and get somebody else. But at least give it a shot, and don't be too
I love that. Shut up and do it, right? Take messy action. Just get out of your own way, get out of your head, you know, step into your dream, take the first step, see what happens. I also really loved your point about being flexible and being able to pivot and adjust. I mean, you just try it, take action. If it doesn't work, you make an adjustment and you try it again, and then you make an adjustment and you try it again, and you pivot and you adjust, and bit by bit you find the rhythm that works for you. And I love the fact of don't reinvent the wheel, right? Find someone that's further along in the journey, that's living the path that you want, and then model them, because success leaves clues. So
Absolutely.
what is something that you wish someone would have told you that you had to learn for yourself the hard way? And how can you now save someone the time and frustration from carving their own path?
Yeah, no, definitely, Ellie. I wish somebody would have told me, and I'm sure somebody has told me that, but it hasn't like entered my small brain. At the beginning, especially, right? If you start a business or you want to scale it, it's just a struggle, right? Like all of us entrepreneurs know that, but we don't know when the end of the tunnel appears, right? Like when do I enter the light? And I've recently seen a graph, and it gave a great picture. It was just an inverted curve. I hope that's correct English, but where there was on one axis there was the time, and on the other the amount of struggle, right? And especially at the beginning, it was just complete nonsense of how much struggle you have to push through. But then it gets so much easier once you reach scale, and it's just disproportionate. So I guess what I wished I would have known is that it really takes a bit of struggle and time to get established. And I was just quite naive, and I pulled the plug out of a well-paying interim position to start Coach Africa. But if I would have known the runway that I would have actually needed at that point, I would have just made some more sensible decisions, and I wouldn't. It wouldn't have taken me that long to get to where I'm right now. So push through, right? You never know when you will pick the gold. Like maybe you're just a millimeter away from it, right? And just push through, and it will appear. Things will happen for you.
Now, where did you find the drive to push through in those really challenging times?
Yeah, like I wish I would. I could say like, you know, it was easy. It was all inside me. I just that mindset. But you know, and everybody that is, even if you're doing your daily priming, right? You're waking up. You do your meditation. You visualize your success. You do all these things, right? You journal, but it's still hard, right? To overcome, but it's definitely a lot easier if you do as much as you can to just get in that state that allows you to be your best self, right? So it sometimes, to me, and that's kind of the thing that I'm never kind of really understand, is that when you see people talking about, you know, being grateful all the time or being super happy all the time. Maybe I'm not yet there, but I think when we are never realizing our happily ever after.
What is happily ever after to you? How do you define success, or how do you define that happily ever after?
I'm increasingly realizing that beauty is really in the moment. That especially as us achievers, you know, we have so many goals, we have so many things that we're, you know, striving towards, and all of these things are great, but often we kind of forget to live, and just years fly by, and just very precious moments. For example, the 1st of January, I was with my family, and my 6-year-old son asked me, "Dad, can I jump with you in the sea, in a very chilly sea?" Because that's a tradition that I've done the last years. And it was just, we're just running hand in hand in the ocean, you know. And I've been watching that video so many times, like just so enjoying that smile on his face and just being there, and seeing my parents just being so happy seeing us. And yeah, these are the things I think life is about. But these are our precious moments, and let's cherish them, and sometimes take a moment to appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. Far too often we get caught up in the destination, right? The goal, the achievement, the accolade, the destination. What's the end game? That we're so busy planning and climbing and persevering that we forget to stop and look around and be present and realize that the magic is in the moments. Life is in those moments, the glances, the laughter, the holding the hand of your son. It's just so beautiful. And thank you for bringing that up. It's a really powerful reminder, especially this time of year. And then, of course, you know, the last 2 years with the pandemic, I think people have been so overwhelmed with trying to keep up and the next thing and the uncertainty of it all, that to remember to live each moment of each day is really profound.
It is. There's still so much beauty around, Ellie, right? Like, yeah, but sometimes we don't realize it.
Yeah. We're so busy that we don't take the time to actually see what is here with us and for us. So I want to shift gears just a little bit, but on a related topic. What drives you?
What drives me?
What drives you?
I think it's around, on the one hand, it's very personal. I don't want to go in my grave just with any realization that I haven't been the very best that I could possibly be. So that drives me just to, it sounds really bad, I'm sure, but I would love to be the next Nelson Mandela, right?
That's amazing.
But yeah, like it's so I just want to push as much out of myself as I can. So that's driving me. But it's for sure just to leave the world in a really much better place than it was when I was young. And it's when I was a kid, I used to watch Captain Planet. I don't know if you know that, if you've watched that before, or anybody watching, but you know, they had this villain, like I think was Luton Plunder or whatever his name was always spoiling the earth. And I just remember as a kid, I was just feeling so upset about, like, how can you pollute with the world, and you know, all these kind of things. And I guess at the end of the day, like I am deeply touched. I remember flying above Borneo and just looking from the airplane down, and I saw like half of the rainforest was just gone. I could only see palm oil plantation just all the way, like for hundreds of kilometers, right? And yeah, I just want to do something around the bigger issues in the world. And it's sometimes a challenge, because then you're like thinking, okay, what do I really do now? Like, you know, am I doing enough? But yeah, I'm just trusting that things are happening gradually, and but that's really what's driving me to really make a mark on this planet.
Amazing, amazing. So how are you able to stay in alignment to that vision, to your values, to your mission, to your purpose, given all of the distractions and the noise and the challenges and the busyness of life? How do you stay in alignment?
That's a really great question. Let me reflect for a moment. It's a really good question. I think for me, it would really be about listening to that voice, right? Because I think everybody knows it subconsciously very well. Once you're heading in the wrong direction, you feel it in your body that that's not where you should be heading, and sometimes we ignore it, and then we get a backlash, right? And for me, that's still happening now and then, right? If sometimes I'm working too hard, and I just find that my family is I'm no compromising on my family or my health. So, but then you kind of like correct. So I'm not sure if there's always, if we're all Mother Teresa and we all the time stay in complete alignment, but I think we are capable of staying 99% on course, because our conscience, and especially, for me, my conscience is always telling me if I'm going somewhere wrong, like, and like it's a very strong kind of voice in my head that's saying this is not right, this is not how it should be. So then, don't go that route, in terms of ethical behavior with the business, or dealing with some kind of people. And but it's a lot easier, and I think that's something that that a lot of us, that therefore it's so important, I think, to have also financial abundance in your life. That what I've noticed is that if you are under pressure financially, that it just blurs so many things, right? It blurs your values, it blurs your creativity, and the more abundant we become, just the more flow, and the easier it feels to kind of be on course, right? To say no to some people that you don't want to, don't do business with. And just follow your own passion and your own heart, and craft the business or the life of your dreams. But yeah, we need money for that.
So what would you say to people who say, well, yeah, when you have money, it's really easy to say no to things, or when you have money, it's really easy to take that vacation and prioritize your self-care, or when you have money, it's really easy to hire people so that you have the time to balance things out? Well, that's fine and dandy for people who have money, but like, what would you say to people who are in that situation where they don't have the financial abundance yet, and they are struggling because they want to adhere to their values, they want boundaries, they want balance, they want joy, they want to stay in alignment with their values and missions? What advice do you have to them?
Yeah, I think money is an enabler. Well, it becomes easier, but it's not an excuse if you don't have it to not have all of that, right? Like, we were just talking about being present and being in that moment, right? And all the emotions, and I think that, and that's why I love your show, Ellie. It's, there's probably the biggest breakthrough that I've had, and I'm sure that's the same for many of you listening, is if you realize that you have the power to choose your emotions, right? I think that is very profound for a lot of us. And if you are in a space where there's not a lot of financial abundance in your life, I'm sure there's a lot of other things that are going great for you at this time. And I think we can then choose our emotions that state would make it easier to live according to our values. So it's still perfectly okay to say no to a number of opportunities that do not align with your value set. And it's just, to me, it's about what do you value most. If contribution is love and connection, and contribution is on the top of your value set and your your needs, and after that is certainty, then that money is not that factor, right? At that moment, it's kind of aligning with, do I take care of my family, right? Do I take care of my loved ones? Do I show up in a connective, powerful way, right? Do I give back already? I don't have that much, but do I give back now? If you don't give anything now, will you give anything if you have a lot of money? So I think it just amplifies and makes things easier, but it's not an excuse not to, be in that state right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your reminder that you are in control of your emotions, that you have the power to choose your perspective. You have the power to choose your priorities. You have the power to choose whether you're going to react or whether you're going to act. Because as you know, they're not the same. So are you just reacting out of habit, or are you consciously taking a deliberate action? I love that you brought that up. And I think something else for people who are struggling, maybe financially, maybe through trauma or pain, or you mentioned certainty and uncertainty. I think it's an important reminder to really get clear on who you are and what you want and what you want your life to look like, what your values and priorities are, and then make whatever choices you can each and every day that further those goals, that further your values, that further your mission and your purpose. Because when you are living in your mission and your purpose, then you can create that flow. And when you say opportunity, I think sometimes we don't want to say no, right? We don't want to say no to opportunities because there's a fear or a doubt. Will another opportunity come, or will I be able to make it? And sometimes saying no to the wrong opportunity or the wrong partner creates space to say yes to the right one when the opportunity comes along. Because how many times have amazing things come our way and we looked around and didn't have 5 extra minutes in the day and thought, oh, well, I would love to do that, but I don't have time. So being able to stay in alignment and sometimes say no to things opens that time for prioritizing the self-care, or creating the business plan, or taking the next action, or picking up the phone and having that conversation with the next prospect or the next connection that could open other doors or facilitate opportunities.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one of the things that I love about you, Ellie, is that I'm sometimes wondering, how do you do all of these things, right, that you're achieving? But I'm sure that some of the secrets to your success is saying no to some opportunities that come your way, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, absolutely. It's saying yes to the things that align with you, right? And
exactly.
Saying no to anything else.
Yeah.
So you are definitely someone who is taking the road less traveled. I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit, being a white Dutchman, serving, creating a business and focusing on serving Africa. And you've talked about some of the criticism that you faced, or some of the self-doubt that came up, or the negative self-talk, and how you've navigated that. How have you learned to shed the sting, so to speak, of the external, and to not only to silence your inner critic, but to not pay any attention to the naysayers and the external critics?
Yeah, that's a super great question. Especially at the beginning, I was quite upset when, I was kind of attacked on social media sometimes, when you, and you're learning things, right? At the beginning, you make a lot of mistakes because you're super proud of the work that you do. And then you make exactly the mistake that you want to avoid, namely to be that vehicle that talks about the continent in a great way. But then you get kind of that backlash, and at the beginning, it was really quite hard and kind of discouraging, frankly, because I was like, yeah, but I'm doing that with the right intentions. Well, on social media, people don't have time to understand your intentions. They're like, wham, I bite off your head straight away, right? Like that's how social media works. So what I've come to realize is that, like, even behind social media, right? Like there's all individuals, and I've reached out to some of even people that made quite like even hateful, not hateful is not the right word, but let's say skeptical comments. And I jumped on a Zoom call with some of them, and at the end of the Zoom call, it was a completely different story. Yeah. And people were very appreciative of the work that I was doing, and to me that was like, okay, this is just it's a communication thing.
Yeah. The power of using your voice and sharing your heart.
Yeah, exactly. And for me personally, that comes back to speaking from the head and not the heart. If I had that even the other day when that I didn't have a great conversation with somebody, and I was really upset about it, and that was actually something which wasn't in alignment with my values. The conversation was not pleasant, and upon reflecting of that conversation, I was like, actually, that was just my mind speaking, right? I wasn't present during the conversation. So I guess that's the way I've managed to overcome it, is just not to be that much in my head, but communicating from the heart more. And things change.
I think that's so powerful, and especially over the last 2 years, with people having to pivot more toward doing everything virtually and kind of feeling that disconnection, right? Having plenty of time to go back in their head. Yeah. And I think we're really seeing that with kind of the polarization and the divisiveness that is going on right now. So what an important reminder to get out of your head, back into your heart, and have conversations, meaningful conversations from your heart, with respect, and being present in those communications, being present so that you're able to hear as well as speak.
Absolutely. And I think us men can use a bit more feminine energy at some points in I think women have some more natural gifts in that space, but I think it's definitely it's a game changer if you open up and just listen and communicate with your heart.
Amazing. So do you incorporate that into your own self-care practice and practice within your family? How do you prioritize that, and what does that look like for you?
So for me, one of the things that are non-negotiable in our family is that that every Tuesday I have a day with my sons. So that is something that, like it's blocked, right? The whole day is blocked off. So that's one thing that we put a bit of structure around it so that it's not compromised, right? It's basically, you don't have a choice. You can like it or not. If you wake up, like, you spend the time with the kids, and it's a very precious time. But I cannot deny that sometimes I'm like, I have a bit of work to do, right? So so it's not but that is that's one thing which is really important to us. And I think the constant struggle that I'm having is that conflict between wanting to be, everything that I can be, but also being that best person as a husband or as a father, and is just around blocking and transitioning from being engaged with work, from just switching to being with the family, right? And being completely there, not thinking about work when you are on the dinner table, right?
Yeah.
But in these days with COVID, right? Like it's hard because you're working upstairs, and that transition time when you used to have half an hour in public transport or in your car, you're now like downstairs in 2 seconds, and your family commands all your attention, right? So it's hard, but yeah, let us try to, and we know that we can change our state and our focus in a moment, but let's do that.
It
And I'm
definitely
also
takes,
speaking to myself, so it's still a work
yeah.
in progress for sure.
It definitely takes some practice, right?
Yeah.
It definitely takes some intention, and I think it goes back to what you spoke about earlier about being present. So when you are working, you are fully present, working, fully focused on that, and then by having that Tuesday blocked off, by having dinner as a family blocked off, you're able to be fully present and focused on those moments because you were able to be fully present and focused on your work things during your work time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you have certainly had an interesting journey. That is for sure, and it is long from over. It's still, you're still you're still building your empire and scaling your impact and progressing along your journey. But up until now, if you had to sum up all the twists and turns of life, if you had to sum up your journey in a few sentences, what would they be?
Wow. I would say just, life's an adventure. Like, just go out there and do the unconventional thing, because sometimes swimming against the current just brings you to the most incredible places, and the most unexpected things can happen, and the most beautiful encounters. So that's what really excites me.
That's amazing. And as we start to wind down for today, I want to take that even one step further. Let's imagine that you've come to the end of your life, and it is the life best lived. It has been your dream life. You have exceeded every moment of your passion and your vision. It's all come to life. What do you want to be remembered for? What's your legacy?
Ultimately, I just want, and I think that's something which is just really, like, my kids are so close to my heart, and just having had a blast with them, having traveled the world with my wife, and just having been just a great. I guess the father would be quite a big one to me, because I'm now visualizing, going on safari with my son, for example, just when we can. I think these are the things that will make me smile back when life is near the end.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Are there any parting words or words of wisdom or messages that you would like to share with the audience?
I would like to share, just grab life by and squeeze the last drop out of it, and just go for your dreams, and just not be, this, like this scared. You're better than that. Like, life is happening for you. You have all the opportunities in the world, and just go out, get it.
Just do it, Danny. Just do it.
Just do it.
Go out there and just do it. That's
yes.
Wise words. Wise words. So how can people find out more about what you're doing, and how can they connect with you?
So if you reach out anytime, my webpage is www.dannydenhartog.com. So that's my main website. You can send an email to me, or you can reach me on LinkedIn, Danny Den Hartog. So just feel free to reach out and ask me anything that you want, and would be happy to connect.
Amazing. Run out and connect with Danny. He's incredible. And Danny, what you're doing in the world is amazing and so needed. Thank you for taking the road less traveled. Thank you for living outside the box, and for really stepping into the role of closing those gaps, those access gaps, for being that bridge. Thank you for the work that you are doing, and I cannot wait to see how it continues to unfold and amplify in the world.
Ellie, thanks so much for the super inspiring work you do with your show and through all your endeavors. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for being here. Till next time.
See you very soon.
Till next time.
See you. Bye, everyone.